Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the Washington Outsider. With you is Irina Zuckerman. I'm the editor-in-chief, and today we are having a special guest, Ilana De Villiers. She is the CEO and founder of Afori. It's a tech startup focused on eliminating food waste. We are discussing this in the context of Women's History Month here in the US. Ilana is based in Luxembourg. Ilana, welcome to the Washington Outsider. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself before we delve into your startup and tell everyone what it is?
Thank you so much, Irina. Thank you so much for having me at the Washington Outsider. So my name is Ilana De Villiers, and I'm the founder and chief executive officer of F4A, standing for Food for All. What do? We are actually a technology company able to prevent and fight food waste along the food value chain, thanks to new technologies and actually analyzing data a little bit more in depth.
So how did you decide to get involved in this? First of all, what's your background and what made you decide on this particular area?
That's an excellent question. So my background, I was designated to become a lawyer. I did law studies, and I also did a master in entrepreneurship and innovation in order to have all the ground basis for me to know how to build a company, maintain a team, develop the culture, and everything that is related to entrepreneurship. So basically, it was in 2015-16 when I was still studying law, my master's degree in private law in Strasbourg, where I got this idea. As a student, and as all students in the world, we have a budget that we need to live on. So eating rice, potatoes, and pasta is unfortunately not a stereotype, but a saddest truth. Or even, instant noodles for Christmas that you put in the microwave because it goes fast. And in 2016, all the scandals in Europe regarding food waste on a supermarket level exploded in the news. Supermarket bleaching products, supermarket putting locks on the bins in order to avoid dumpster diving. All those scandals were actually rising and popping up during my studies. And on the other hand, I was a student frustrated because I couldn't eat healthy. I had to eat, unfortunately, cheaper food and not really good for the health in general. And I didn't understand why there was so much food waste on one end, and on the other hand, people who were looking to eat healthier with a lower budget. So the first idea was to develop a platform just to link a demand to a need. So putting in light the products close to expiry from supermarkets, and then targeting consumers who are willing to buy those products. And in 2016, I remember as it was yesterday, it was during the winter, a friend of mine invited me over dinner. And at the end of the meal, he told me, Ilana, could you guess where I got the products from? I was like, okay, that's a strange question to finish at dinner. I was potentially in the market, in the farmer's market to be more original next door. And he told me, actually, not at all. I dumpster dived the products in the bin of my supermarket in the street. I lost 35 tons of shades. Thought I would die, like everyone, like every human being. Okay, I'm still here to talk to you today, so I'm not poisoned, no nothing. The day after this meal, I was fresh. I didn't have any food poisoning, and I was like, okay, this is actually the green light for me to develop this idea. I called my family. Some of them were like, "Yeah, it's a genius idea, but Ilana, don't stop your studies like that. Pursue another master, to be a little bit less risky." And others were like, "No, Ilana, abandon this idea. This is a side project, nice side project, but continue your law career. Actually, it's less riskier, and you have a beautiful path there." I wasn't happy in what I was doing. I wanted something impactful, something to change the world. So I was stubborn. I was like, okay, anyways, I finished law. I don't want to continue this. Nonetheless, I found a master in entrepreneurship and innovation here in Luxembourg, which accepted me with this idea. And this is how it all started. 2016 September was my back to school in entrepreneurship and innovation. We developed this idea and we managed to get our first client, which is Deleuze, part of the Ahold Deleuze Group, which is the sixth largest supermarket in the world today, as a first early adopter, first mover. And we started our activities the 24th October 2018 with them.
So how does this all actually work from step one to the final outcome?
So from the ideation to the product, how it works, basically, you have this idea, you do your business plan, you do the financial projections. But what we also did a lot is going into the streets and having qualitative and quantitative information in order to know what the consumers wanted. So we did 4 types of questionnaires. It's not really legal though, but still we managed to do that in German, in English, in Luxembourgish, and in French. We managed to gather over 3,000 people replying to this questionnaire in Luxembourg. But just to give you an idea, Luxembourg is 620,000 inhabitants. So you can get the sample there. We managed to get a lot. It was more than a focus group, actually. So this is what we did. We did a lot of internal research. I almost got banned from supermarket chains because I was just there trying to get the processes and so on. So it was a rodeo, let's say. It was very, very interesting because we managed to gather a lot of information. From this, what we did as well, we did focus groups with consumers to see what they wanted in a digital app. We didn't want to develop something that had 50% chance to fail on the market. We wanted to reflect the exact demands of consumers. Therefore, we decided to do co-creation with them, and we developed the first app. Last but not least, this was our first tool, still existing today, very modified as much as we can to maximize the original features thanks to new focus groups. But we also co-developed our analytical tool, which is a dashboard, helping supermarkets to have more granularity and transparency when it comes to food waste management. Actually, we push everything on co-creation because we really think that this is how tools can work and how it can be used and tracked, let's say used more often and have a huge traction in the world. Without co-creation, we do not have the specificities of the markets and the consumers. So, and in the digital world, it's very costly, right, to develop something that people will not use. So this is the app. The dashboard was co-created all along as well with supermarkets. And we also have a printing system which is an intermediary between digital labels and physical labels. So we can touch more than supermarkets. We can go in all different domains, little shops that are not digitized, as an example. So all of them can use our services. You need to see F4A basically as a menu. You pick and choose what you want to implement in order to fight food waste at your level.
That's brilliant. But what did you discover about what the people actually wanted, and how did they even figure out what they wanted out of this?
So of course you're gonna ask certain questions, right? Not yes or no questions. You want more open questions in order for them, to reply honestly and what they want to see, how they perceive food waste, the expiry dates, and so on. Because yes, technology can help, but technology is not the only answer. Humanity is there as well, and you need to change the consumer behaviors. You need to educate them and go also in their direction. And so what we managed to gather is how they perceived expiry dates, why essentially they wouldn't go for discounted products, what was the perception of discounted products, what were their perceptions of supermarkets doing that, what would they accept as tolerable for discounted products, what would they see as features to help them cook, as an example, or what to do with it, how to trace their positive impact, etc., etc. So this is what we actually did. We had approximately 35 questions. So by head, I couldn't say all of them right now, but we managed to get their insights of why, yes or no, they would buy those products. If not, what was the reason? What is the perception of supermarkets, the future role of supermarkets? What would be the features for them to be used in a grocery tool to help them grocery shop in more sustainable manners, what they actually wanted to see, and how easy they wanted the user experience to be.
So in terms of the actual process of not wasting food and expiration dates and things like that, what was the general consensus at the end of it?
In terms of not wasting food, so it is very paradoxical, right? So you have different types of generation, different types of consumer segments. So I will just take an average of the 35 years old to 45 years old, right, for this customer segments, and I could break it down, of course. So 35 to 45 years old, what was really striking here in Luxembourg is that they perceived close to expiry products as products who would be already rotten, who would be poisoned, and that's why they wouldn't go for that. Also, one of the feedback of this customer segment was, why should they buy a product that is so low discounted, so an average 20-25%, if they can just go at the end of the shelf and take the product with a longer expiry date and just pay 25% more as a total price. So this was also a second feedback. Now, for them to get used to buy these products, one of the solutions were to increase the discount. That was one. The second one is to help them to actually cook this product, what to do with it, how to conserve those products, because a lot of people do not know how to conserve products over the expiry dates, and actually what was the clear definition of expiry dates or best by date, best before or best by date, actually. So all of this was for them a necessity to be cleared out, and basically to help them, use these products, track the impact, why they would use those products. All of those criteria were important for them.
So what happened once you figured out that people were amenable to being educated about this? How did you tackle the supermarket end of it?
So this is only one customer segment, right? You need to also target other customer segments, and in order to get this general feedback, to target each customer segment properly and to educate them properly. There is a difference between saying something and having action on it. And actually, that is a huge difference. You can still say you are sustainable. The last report of Nielsen of past years stated that 60% of the consumers worldwide were ready to buy more expensive products, more expensive sustainable products. And then you have the report of the EIB this year, which states the difference, right? So you have here a contradiction between what is being said, what you can click, what you can say on paper, and what you will do in the end. Now, how to tackle supermarkets? We are a company that is there to help supermarkets. Supermarkets are our clients. We are helping them in everything that is CSR related. We are helping them to manage food waste, to track it easier, and to develop tools on demand for them in order to increase the margins, because this is a commercial activity and they still need to make margins out of it. And of course, to lower food waste. Lowering food waste and increasing margins is not paradoxical, and it goes along. So on a supermarket level, we are a strategical partner for them. We bring them more customer segments. We are managing digital developments for them on demand if they want, and we also have mainstream technologies that they can use. So basically, we are more than a green company. We are helping them in different domains, and this is how we approach supermarkets.
And where does the technology come in? How does it bridge this divide?
So it depends on the supermarket. It depends on your supermarket chain, because actually each supermarket chain, well, not each of them, but some of them, most of them, let's say, they use different technologies. So we adapt ourselves, and this is the beauty of being a startup. We are really much flexible, and we adapt ourselves to each supermarket chain and each technologies they are using inside. So either it's API to API, as an example, which is easy for us, or we basically take all the tech criteria, we implement that in our company, and then we do a bridge between both companies, both technologies.
Once you started working with the supermarkets, what was the process of adopting this, and what happened with the consumers at the end? How long did it take for these ideas to actually be transferred to the customer, changing buyer habits?
So you have two layers. We're a B2B2C company, right? So on the supermarket level, when from the idea to the actual implementation, it took 17 months, but this was our first client. So now, depending on the complexity of technological developments they have to do, or if they are ready, the technological readiness, we can go from 45 minutes up to 18 months, depending on what they want to implement. 18 months is it's our maximum deadline to implement technologies. But of course, it depends what they want to see, if they want to see real-time data and so on and so on. And if they have the technological departments ready in their supermarket chains, because sometimes it's externalized, they have other priorities. So of course, we need to adapt, and it's big companies, right? So you have a lot of processes to respect. And basically, the time that we take is mostly due to internal processes because you need to validate several steps. So this is how we onboard. Now, on a consumer basis, of course, this is an ongoing job. It is education every day. It is social media channels that help us a lot to communicate as well. It is SEO, SEA, as an example, classical media. So every day there is something that we implement in marketing in order to educate consumers. We go into high schools, we go into schools, we go into universities, NGOs, as an example, also to educate people. And this is all along the life of the company. A consumer cannot do a 180-degree, let's say, consumer behavior change in
Mhm.
just one. It is step by step, and actually, it needs to be understood that you don't need to be perfect to make an impact. You just make a small change on your daily habit, and this is already something. And if everybody would do the same, it would change already the state of the environment today.
So it almost works like a longitudinal study in studying, where the consumers started in the very beginning when you first surveyed them to after some of the changes in the local markets were implemented. So probably a couple of years or a few years down the road.
Yeah, so actually, it's very interesting. In the beginning, consumers used our app once or twice a week.
Mhm.
And today, consumers use our app every day. First of all, this is really impressive, and we are really proud of it. It's just the beginning, 3 years of activities, so we can push it even forward. We have more challenges in hand, and we are there to make them use this app even more because it's an educative tool. It helps them also for sustainable grocery shopping. So I'm very proud of our community, and our community managed to save a lot of food waste, which is amazing. Now, the analysis is made all along, the usage of our tools, and especially on a consumer level, how they manage to be more sustainable. And this is what I can clearly say today. Really proud of this community, and they should go on like that.
Oh, that really sounds great. So what's the next step? You mentioned that you are looking to forge ahead. Do you have other challenges that you're looking to overcome? What's the next one?
Well, entrepreneurship is a challenge every day, right? So we're growing our company currently. We are hiring more, so this is a challenge internally. How to maintain a culture, in this COVID, not COVID situation. We don't know
Mhm.
where it's actually with the situation. Food waste has no border. So our next challenge is to actually continue grow our company on in other countries because food waste is a nightmare everywhere, and this is the biggest challenge I might say.
So one of the issues that I remember reading about um in California, in the US specifically, but probably elsewhere around the world as well, was the issue of restaurants not donating the food the following day after serving it, or so on and so forth. And I think in some places they actually changed the law regarding that, but I haven't followed it closely. Is that something that you've dealt with?
Yes, actually, yes. You food waste is very complex, right? It is not a matter of a single player. It happens all along the food value chain from harvesting to the plate of the consumer, and actually, the consumer is the one who wastes the most in the end. Now, on a restaurant level, you have also different liabilities, also in the retail industry, right? You have different laws, you have health law. You need to be sure also on the preservation and conservation of the food. What happens if the food goes rotten, but there is no traceability on it? Who is liable for it? So you have all of those, let's say, externalities that play in food waste, and unfortunately, the liability is pretty heavy for one or the other player. And yes, we have dealt with it here in Europe, and it worked pretty well. Now, the safety of the consumer is the most important, right? The stomachs of consumers are not bins, as NGOs are not bins. So we need to find a way to reduce food waste at each layer on the ground and be sure and be ensured that the safety of the consumer is preserved. Why should a consumer, as an example, be intoxicated with food because, I don't know, XYZ restaurant just donated the food, it was not preserved in good conditions, I don't know, the cold chain was not respected, and so on and so on. And it had an impact, a severe impact on the health of the consumer. So all of this needs to be traced, and we have indeed the solution for that.
So how do you find that balance between, between health and also not wasting the food in a way that's not healthy? How do you find the optimal end? And furthermore, how do you communicate it to the lawmakers? Because the restaurant may very well be amenable to working with you, but the law is pretty much the same for everybody.
So it's a matter of logistics and creating win-win-win solutions. Now, how we do it is our USP. So I would invite you to contact us. But the importance here is to find win-win solutions for all. Food waste is an issue to solve. It means that you need to prevent it, right? If you are here to overproduce and then sell it at a discounted product, well, this is not a way to solve food waste. Unfortunately, this is not the way. Stock management is an issue. Logistics are issues. Law is an issue. So you have to have this 360-degree view in order to find solutions that suit everyone and that are in the respect with the applicable law in the country.
Yeah, I was just thinking about every component of this and how complicated it sounds working with absolutely everybody. Especially when you mentioned overproduction, I was thinking this actually goes back to the farming level or production level, and it's that's not even restaurant, that's agricultural kind of calculations. How do you tackle that part of it all the way to the from so there's one part from restaurant to consumer, but then there's the part from producer to the restaurant or supermarket, and that's the part that where it, you know, trying to calculate the needs gets very very tricky.
It is super tricky. It is very tricky. Again, it's different fields. So the food value chain is enormous. It is different fields of actions. You have different laws also applying, different, business channels, where they want to target, where they want to sell, how they want to sell it. And all of these, let's say, criterias are important to take into consideration. You cannot be a single solution complying with all of that. We need to also go hand in hand with different solutions on the table in order to provide different solutions to different actors of the food value chain. And there you will make an impact. There is no exclusivity on food waste. It is literally impossible. If you want to tackle all layers of the scale, well, either you're totally utopic and you live in your bubble, or if you're more realistic, you understand that you have different players with different qualifications and expertise. And there you go hand in hand and you fight this issue all along the food value chain. Because the customer segments and the business channels are totally different. A farmer, you have those farm to fork, solutions today, and it's increasing a lot. But a few years ago, it wasn't the case, right? Or it was less the case, not at all the case, but it was less the case. You have those wholesalers. Wholesalers basically they do not sell to end consumers. What they sell to is to other channels such as supermarkets in order to sell the product. So you have those different layers, and depending where you are positioned in the food value chain, you will have the solution for them.
Now, all of this sounds like it ultimately is helpful to the producers, the supermarkets, and so forth, because it helps them save, it helps them become more efficient. But has there been anyone who was aggressively opposed to this process for any reason? Like seriously not really getting the picture and just being a problem?
Well, you cannot please everyone, right? So Of course, you will never please everyone. And I will take another example. You take Google as an example, right? Not the entire world is using Google, so even Google is not pleasing everyone.
Right.
So it's exactly the same. If you build a company, your customer target will never be the entire world. So of course you will not please certain actors, but that's fine. That's fine. This is called business. So yes, we have encountered actors who actually didn't want to use our services, but that's fine for us. We are fine with that.
What's your competition? What are you facing in terms of other actors trying to enter the scene, or are there any other actors looking to do something similar?
Well, for instance, yeah, competition is a market validation. We do have competition. This field is very active since 2015-16. So it is great to have more competition, and it's great to have them there because it validates our market, and their solutions can please other consumers, and it will also, push the positive impact for all consumers to use something in the end. So I'm happy to have competition. And actually, I don't really consider them as competition, but rather complementary solutions. So voila, this is what I can say about them.
So basically, it's different methods rather than just, yeah, of trying to address this issue. Now, going back to what you said about internationalizing and kind of going global with this solution, what are your aims? What are you, where are you looking to go next, and where have you already been reaching out?
So that's very interesting. Our strategy of development is, let's say, a strategical way to develop our services, and we never actually disclaim where we will open our services before actually opening the services there. What I can tell you is that we're going to open Estonia the 22nd of March, so it's in a few days.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And as said, we want to go global. The political situation nowadays is not easing, let's say, strategical developments in certain
Mhm.
parts of the world. But nonetheless, the world is huge enough for us to move wherever our services are needed.
So you mentioned the political situation, and that actually was, to me, right now the current crisis seems like a huge opportunity because we are facing food security crisis, especially with Russia and Ukraine going on, because both countries are wheat producers, sunflower oil producers, other oil seed producers that are top top for for many of the top consumers in the world, and we are facing a potential for drastic shortages as a result of the war. Uh, that also means, of course, potentially reducing waste could impact available supply and help people who would otherwise be struggling to get the shortage. Can you see your services being scaling up in a way that can help address that in with the producers of these products?
So you're totally right. Shortages are the future, but unfortunately, it's not only due to the war. The latest IPCC report has been pretty clear of it. Soil erosion and climate change is the reason also of food shortages.
Mhm.
We have been following that closely and have been integrating those criteria in our solution. Now, will it have an impact on food waste? Yes, it will definitely have an impact on food waste regarding food shortages. Positive, negative, we will see. We think that it will be more positive on food waste reduction because of the food shortages per se. Now we don't know because you have different criterias of food, right? You have different levels of food. You have frozen
Mhm.
food, fresh food, dry food, and so on and so on. So all of those different types of food need to be taken into consideration. Now, if it will have an impact on food waste reduction, we will see. We cannot measure it yet. But if we do take this into consideration in our solutions, yes, because we were studying this since way
Mhm.
before the crisis that is currently happening.
There's been other shortages in the past couple of years related to rainfall shortage in some countries depending on the product and other criteria. So apparently this latest factor just exacerbates something that's already been ongoing, at least for some actors. So I'm curious if there's been any trends that you've noticed in particular with what happens, or whether it's still too early to tell in terms of the response in particular to grain related shortages, which have been also kind of ongoing in some parts of the world.
Well, shortages, as you said, they have been happening, are happening, and will be happening. So it has an impact. It has an impact on different criterias and analysis. So if that is the question to your answer, well, or if you can repeat your question.
Yeah, no, well, what I was uh, there's been issues concerning supply and basically connecting the supply to demand efficiently in the
Ah,
last few years for various reasons. The war now exacerbates some of it, but some of it has been ongoing due to cycles of production, due to rainfall related effects, due to miscalculations and just miscalculations in consumer demand and so forth. So I was wondering how this process could be used to make that to respond to these clear shortcomings.
yes, you can use it. Again, it's our USP, so I'm not going to reveal our trade secret here, but it had always an impact. The demand and the offer is basic economy.
Mhm.
You have economies of scale. Of course, this is the, let's say, the roots of this commercial activity. You have externalities that you need to take into consideration. As you said, climate change, shortages, soil erosion, and so on, overconsumption, overproduction, and all of this, of course, needs to be taken into consideration to have a perfect fit. Now, if you're going to have zero food waste, if it was me, I would like to say yes, right? I would like to have 0% of food waste.
Mhm.
But if you want to be realistic, right, it's still a human. It's everything is about humans, right?
Mhm.
Despite the fact that we go to autonomous supermarkets and so on, there is still human involved in it, and mistake will happen, and mistakes are normal. So arriving to 100% food waste reduction, no, it's impossible. Someone can let something fall on the floor, as an example. This is also considered as food waste. You break eggs, whatsoever, it happens.
Yeah.
We are humans, and it's normal. You don't make an omelet without breaking eggs. So this is part of the best market practice. But so you need to take new data into consideration. You need to take those points into consideration. How we calculated the offer towards the demand before is not applicable anymore today. COVID is the best example that we have. So, and now the war, unfortunately, as well. But you continuously need to adapt. You continuously need to adapt to what is happening to the market. Climate change is the factor also that you need to adapt to. And if you don't take this into consideration, well, you will not have the good answer to adapt your offer to your demand.
Was there any particular trend that you've discovered during COVID? Was there more food waste, less food waste as a result of economic impact overall, or did it impact any particular segments more than others?
Well, it depends where you are based, which country. Again, it depends on the culture. What we can say as, in general, the first wave of COVID had a positive impact. The first wave had a
Mhm.
positive impact on food waste reduction. Like, people went nuts. They bought just literally everything they found. Remember those empty shelves, preparing, for the end of the world. So yes, it had a positive impact because people were just buying everything. But that was on a pure retail level. Now, were we capable to track it at a consumer level and see what they were doing with the food? No, of course not. So we don't know what happened, behind the door. Then the second wave and the third wave, well, we could see again, food waste coming in because people were a bit more reasonable and they understood that, we weren't about to die from the day to the other, because of COVID. In general, I said the world about to unfortunately terminate tomorrow, because of COVID. So no, yes, it has a positive impact, but on a very short time frame. And again, you see the role of the consumer there. If the consumer goes nuts, if the consumer decides to buy everything, well, it has a positive impact on a super and a business level. But now I'm going to say this is supermarket level. Look at restaurants. The first wave of COVID, they had to close and they lost a lot of their stocks. So there you had a very negative impact on food waste. And depending on several laws, they could or not sell the stocks to private people. But if they weren't allowed to sell the stocks to private people, well, unfortunately, it went to the bins. So there you have another example, even during the first wave of COVID, where COVID had a negative impact on food waste. So it depends where you are situated on the food value chain. It depends which country you're in. Everything is really depending on externalities, internalities, culture, technology wise, how customers are reacting, and so on. But this is what I can actually say regarding the analysis as a global analysis on food waste.
The other factor that major factor that I wanted to ask you about was the inflation, the rising cost of food, not just to the shortages, but actually, in the US, it's less due to food shortages. There's been some supply chain disruptions, but there's also been, rising cost of everything and not just food. So how do you see that impacting the situation in terms of food efficiency and food security?
Well, of course, it will have a negative impact, right? The food inflation has a direct impact on the prices that consumers pay at the end of the cash register. There are actors trying to do their best to maintain this food inflation. And how they do it, basically they eat their margins to actually enable consumers to still buy products and not that expensive. Unless all the salaries will increase and employers are ready to increase all salaries at the same
Yes.
rate of inflation, then it will not have an impact. But unfortunately, it will not be the case. So it will have an impact, and it will have a drastic impact in the food industry.
Now, you yourself recently have been in Dubai participating in activities, I would say, related to the scene. What have you discovered as a result of participating in these international gatherings? What sort of conversations are being had, and what's the general attitude? How does the Middle East in particular view this issue?
In particular, Middle East is trying to find a lot of solutions. They're pushing like sustainability, which is amazing. And they have, this innovative thinking, and they want to move on, and they want to really help and find concrete solutions and actions to put in place and to actually participate actively in a better world. So it's really amazing how the world is turning into finding solutions and putting immediate actions on problems that we have today. But of course, it cannot be done from the day to the other. And this is the case. We need to work hand in hand and find solutions together, and create co-petition, co-petition as an example, meaning like competition, bringing together, finding solutions, and for them to use the same solutions to go in a better world. Now the topics remain the same. The latest conventions and conferences where I've been in are the following: how to maintain reasonable prices, how to shape a future industry, as an example, the restaurant level, the future of cloud kitchen, dark kitchens, as an example. Where will it go? How will it be organized? Because dark kitchens are a solution also to go faster, to make economies of scales on this level.
And could you explain what a dark kitchen is, just for the?
Yes, so it's kind of a central kitchen where you have different restaurants, like different players, and this kitchen is actually cooking for all of the players, and you have all of the different restaurants as an example, and then you have delivery. So let's say Uber Eats will take a delivery, and this delivery is made in a central kitchen, which is a dark kitchen, and the dark kitchen works I would say 24/7, but of course you have regulation there, so this is impossible. But it works more than a regular kitchen. So it enables like restaurants if they want to go totally digital, as an example, so totally takeaway, do not have this physical tables in house because of COVID and so on, to still be capable to deliver the food, to make these economies of scale. It's a brilliant business model. I think it's a
Mhm.
brilliant one. I think it's the future. Again, this is my personal opinion, but it is really an innovative business model that has been pushed during the past years, and especially during COVID. So I think it's brilliant. There are a lot of improvements to make there, that's for sure. But yeah, it's wonderful. So if you didn't have the time to check, just check how it is going, because I think it's really amazing.
This is why I love conversations like this. I always learn something new, and the restaurant business and having more efficient models. It sounds great. So, what in terms of international developments, we kind of see where it's going. A lot of innovation in the Middle East, but also in general political challenges due to various factors. In terms of kind of taking the actual program to the next level, or what do you think? Where do you want to see the direction take your business?
Well, again, we need to adapt to each culture, each country, right? You have technological readiness of certain countries, certain cultures, other not. This is the beauty of the world. This is the how the world is shaped. So I would like our business to take into consideration those different layers, to take the different cultures into consideration in order to have a set of products that we can offer to different kinds of countries who are technological ready or less. This is where I would like to see the company, and this is what we pushed those past 2 years from COVID. We developed a lot our solutions in order to be capable to onboard different types of technological readiness companies. So this is where I would like the company to go now in the mid short term view. Long term view, of course, is to deliver the services in a lot of different countries and to be capable to change the life of a lot of people in this world and make them realize that you can make an impact without being perfect.
I think that's excellent. I think uh, I find that very inspiring. First of all, entrepreneurship in general, and your persistence clearly, despite the fact that it's a huge undertaking. Just for me, thinking about every aspect of all of this that needs to be managed, it's it's a huge headache if you don't know what you're doing, or if you're not perfectly organized. It's a tremendous work. So congratulations on this major accomplishment, and I really am hoping that you'll continue making breakthroughs everywhere. Are you also thinking about US markets potentially?
Definitely, definitely. US is very interesting. It's a unique market. It's something that I'm really looking closely to, and yeah, once we're ready to go, of course, I think you will hear about us pretty soon. So yeah, it's of course a market that is of a priority for us too.
Sounds good. I think there's probably going to be a lot of people very interested in hearing about your presentation, and I'll be happy to introduce you to anyone who might be able to open doors.
Thank you.
Um, this was great. Thank you so much for everything. And do you guys have a website that we can share?
Yes, definitely. So it's more like a marketing tool that we have. So you will not find a lot of information on it. So you need to consider as a screen. You go to www.f4a.com and you will
Mhm.
see what we do in basic lines. If you need more information, don't hesitate to contact us directly. To have more insights on a consumer level, on a pure B2B level, we are more than willing to answer to all of your questions.
And as for the app, does it work with every phone, or is it geared at a particular kind of right now? Any just iPhones or Samsung or whatever?
No, no, no. We're compliant to all phones, so that's not a problem. Nonetheless, we open our app once we are established in the country. This is again our
Okay.
we do not open the app to the entire world. So
Okay, so right
be
now,
patient and wait for our services to come in. Or if you want us to come in your country, don't hesitate to shout out, and we will come more rapidly then.
so basically, once you have a business relationship with somebody, you basically consider yourself entering the market, correct? Okay, got it. Got it. Well, that sounds a great start. I'll be sure to recommend you to people who are in the industry. So let's hope to see you here in the US very shortly. And what's the next adventure for you in terms of international kind of conferences? After Dubai, where are you thinking?
So there's an international fair also in fundraising that will happen in Middle East too. So that's the next one. We have Viva Tech in Paris that we will also participate to. So the next thing next door in a few days is the opening of Estonia for sure. So those are the different conferences and opening of services I haven't had. There will be plenty of others. So I'm
That
sure
sounds
I'm not going to forget.
that already sounds like like a lot very busy time. And how big is your team, by the way? I forgot to ask you that. Like,
We're 25 today. 25
wow,
today. We're continuously hiring, so
that's
it's
great.
amazing. It's a little
Are
family.
are you based in Luxembourg or are you kind of international, like semi, online linked?
So we are international. Our HQ is in Luxembourg, and thanks to digitalization, they can plug in from everywhere, do home officing. So we are a bit split across the world with a bigger team also in Portugal. We have people all around the globe, and we're so happy to have them and count them in our little family.
That's amazing. That's really makes it exciting. Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Um, please keep us posted about your updates about future developments. And by the way, we also have a website where we share articles. So if anyone wants to write about the future of food security or your business, don't hesitate to send it to us. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Rina. Thank you so much for this great opportunity, and I'm looking forward to the next articles and what you will publish at the Washington Outsider. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure.
Thank you. Have a great one and best of luck in everything that you do.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.